Joining me today is a Second Amendment advocate, the founder of Empowered, a movement of women on college campuses to feel empowered when they use their guns for self-defense, and a woman who is black, armed, and conservative, Antonia Okafor. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Black, armed, and conservative. Heads are exploding right now. Can you feel that rippling across the internet?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that that's why I love it. That's
so that
intentional.
Yeah, you're a rabble rouser. You're going right at it. Black, armed, and conservative. I got that right off your website.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yes.
That really, I mean, it must make people crazy. Just when they just see that, the amount of judgment you must get must be off the charts, right?
Yeah. Well, in this day and age, just to be any three of those, especially together, any combination, it makes people upset. Of course, you know, anything makes people upset these days.
People are very upset
but
at all times.
especially that. I mean, maybe black, armed, and liberal, black, armed, and leftist, but black, armed, and conservative, forget about it.
Yeah. Is it conservative? That's the one that probably people get most annoyed at.
It probably is. And I've had people tell me, well, you kind of alienate people by saying you're conservative. I'm like, well, what am I going to say? Lie to make it easy for you to, to digest? I mean, I'm conservative. You know, what people know about conservatism is that there's a social conservative and then there's the fiscal conservative, and you kind of play to that. But yeah, I don't think in this day and age people don't like that word, and they assume different things when you say conservative. So.
All right, so we're gonna get to some of your conservative beliefs.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get to some of the gun stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess we can get to some of the black stuff, but that too. But let's just tell me a little bit about yourself. You grew up in Dallas. You're a Texas girl.
I am.
You still live there now.
Born and raised.
Tell me a little bit about growing up. You were always black, am I right?
I was always black. I will say that hasn't changed.
Or one of those things. But,
well, this day and age again, you can change it. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl can tell someone that she is black, not only black but Nigerian now, which I'm really upset because my parents are from Nigeria, so.
Wait, is that right? Not only can you be this absurd thing, which is transracial, which is white people now saying that they're black, but you can actually pick a nationality too?
Well, Rachel, how do I say her last name?
Dolezal.
Dolezal. She chose a black Nigerian last name. And it was funny because that same week that happened was when Black Twitter attacked me, and apparently some blogs that were Nigerian American blogs that were upset with me and called me, they said that I was a disgrace to the Nigerian name. The same time they're praising this white woman that decides that she's going to be a Nigerian American, and therefore she has more praise than I do. Yeah, that's the world we're in right now.
Yeah, things are very upside down. But wait a minute, why were they upset at you?
Because I was
general upsetness.
Well, because I took a picture with Tomi Lahren, and how dare I?
Well, geez.
Disgrace to the black name, but especially to the Nigerian name. I was like, I'm a Nigerian, so therefore I know the only way to actually disgrace the Nigerian name is if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer. Other than that, I'm pretty sure you're all set. So,
that's sort of intolerance by association. And you're friends with Tomi, and you guys have done stuff on The Blaze and all that. That guilt, though, is interesting to me because just maybe 2 or 3 months ago when Tomi was on Real Time, I was in the audience that night. And I took a picture at the after party with Tomi, and I had a nice chat with her. And then I took a picture with Bill, and I had a nice chat with him. And I didn't see anyone on the right that was attacking me for taking a picture with Bill. They were like, I don't like Bill, whatever. But I got a ton of hate from people on the left for talking to Tomi. And that sort of disconnect, like the hatred isn't even on both sides at the moment, I don't think.
No, and how many times? And the only reason why they knew about that is because Tomi retweeted my picture with her, and she had me on her show to talk about Empowered, and I was really grateful for that. But it's really not. The sad part is just, okay, regardless if you believe her or agree with her or not, just because you're literally on a show with someone, which that's usually the premise, is that you bring people of different viewpoints and perspectives, and you talk about it, and that's interesting TV, that's not tolerated anymore, to be associating with someone. I just think as a black person, though, the reverse racism, which is not even reverse racism, let's just call it what it is. It's racism, because the fact that she's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl and I'm a black woman, therefore we shouldn't associate, especially because she doesn't have the same ideology as a black person should have, right? Should have, yes, that I should have.
Right, which in an odd way, that is prejudice in itself.
Absolutely.
Isn't that prejudging? I'm only going to hear what you tell me over the next hour. That's only the way I'm going to judge you, not by any other
Absolutely. I mean, Martin Luther King, I really believe, would be rolling over in his grave right now. The fact that his speech talking about the content of your character, not the color of your skin, has been flipped around these days to really be to verify their agenda, the people on the radical left's agenda, and perpetuate what narrative they have, which is absolutely the opposite of what he wanted for this country and the future of his children, like he said.
Yeah. All right. So let's back up for a second. So just tell me a little bit about growing up. Was your family conservative? Were there black conservatives 20 years ago?
Yeah, you know what?
Texas?
Well, I'm going to drop some knowledge.
Let's go.
There are a lot of, if anything, I would say the majority of black people are conservative. This is a radical notion for me to say that, but I really believe it. I believe my parents are very conservative. I mean, I grew up with their values, and their values are stay out of my business. I want to have a small business because this is how I'm able to make a living here in America. I believe in the American dream. Education is how you're going to prosper. You are responsible for your own path in life and you make that decision. All of those, I mean, even if you go on the social side, being pro-life, et cetera, and what have you, all of those notions and values I received from my family. Mm-hmm. But yet, they voted for Hillary and Bernie last time.
So what do you make of that? I've discussed this concept with a couple people on the show.
Yeah.
What's the disconnect there then?
You know, what I see, to be honest, completely is that my mom will talk about how the values that she has, but in the end she'll say, oh, but the Republicans are racist. Oh, but conservatives are racist. It's become this effective tool to really divide people, even if they have the same values, to say, don't go on that side because those people don't like you. They don't like you. But they don't like you. They hate you because of your skin color, because of your sexual orientation, because of who you are as a person, and not the values that you have. And it's sad because I have to deal with that every day with my family.
That's interesting. So you're dealing with that, but how much actual racism are you dealing with from on the right? Because, for example, just yesterday you were you shot a video with PragerU that'll be out, I think, in a couple weeks. I did something with PragerU. I got a lot of hate from people on the left saying, how could you work with right-wing Prager and blah, 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 and all the usual stuff. You may now get it from the black community saying, how could you work with someone on the right, even though they know you're conservative generally. But how much actual racism do you experience from the right?
I don't receive. You know, I will be honest. There have been those people who will call Michelle Obama, but, you know, seriously, this has happened. We'll call Michelle Obama an ape or something like that. That is, I mean, and I don't know if they're really conservative or not. I mean, they'll act like they are, but they might have voted Democrat last time. I see it as a people thing and not by ideology, especially conservatism. Conservatism is an ideology, and you need to know your stuff to know if you really are conservative. I mean, we see this in this day of populism and Trump. Conservatism does not mean Republican. Does not mean libertarianism sometimes. So of course you see that. I'm not going to say there's not racism out there on either side. But yeah, I've always felt comfortable. And that's the thing, is that most people are not going to get out of their little bubble and talk to people that don't look like them, even more so not think like them. That's so rare these days, and that's sad. In 2017, that we're going backwards. That's sad.
I mean, we do feel like we're going backwards, and it's interesting. I've mentioned this before, but when I get invited to colleges, I'm only invited now by the young Republicans, the libertarians of tomorrow, the freedom people, the liberty this, liberty that, even though by most accounts, gay married, pro-choice, for, I'm against the death penalty, I'm for having some sort of safety net, like all of these things, and yet I don't get invited by anyone on the left. So it's like, where is the tolerance again?
Exactly. And I'm still waiting. I would love to have someone like, you know what, we love your views on everything else except for the guns, but, you know, come out. But it's usually the individual.
To play their own games with them. It would show tolerance if a group on the left was like, you know what, we're just going to hear a different view from a black woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to play their little identity politics thing.
Exactly. The identity politics, which, you know, I was sick of. And, you know, I voted for Obama twice in 2008 and 2012. But by 2012, I really started to get the identity politics part of it, the victimhood mentality part of it. And I really wanted a difference because I realized it was something different out there. For me, that was Rand Paul, and I got really involved quickly with the Rand Paul campaign, and because criminal justice reform is still something very important to me. My father went to prison when I was 5 years old for mandatory minimums in a drug crime, and I'm different from most conservatives in that I push for criminal justice reform, and I'm vocal when anybody on the Republican side tries to, you know, squelch any type of reform there. And unfortunately, we're kind of seeing that a little bit more with, you know, Jeff Sessions and his mandatory minimum, bringing that back again.
And it should be something to reform the prison system and make it more functional and more economically viable.
Exactly.
Those all should be Republican or conservative ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fiscal conservative, even if you're just going to look at that. I mean,
right, even if you don't care about people, just on the money end.
Exactly. It's like, okay, just you could like just don't talk about the fact that you don't really care about the people, but come on, the money. Like, let's talk about the money as a business person. Yeah. You're saving so much. Yeah. So that's why I mean, look to like Rick Perry in Texas, who, you know, do I think that he's this big pro-criminal justice reform advocate? No, I mean, I think he was a businessman. He brought a lot of business back to Texas, but he also brought a lot of savings when it came to the prison reform stuff that he did there.
Yeah. Does that kind of show that it doesn't matter sort of necessarily what intentions are all the time?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, he maybe doesn't care at the personal side, which would sort of be upsetting at some level, but if he's doing the right thing because he's doing something for fiscal reasons, that's still, at the end of the day, we're making
it's a win-win. And but there's still people, unfortunately, well, to be honest, a minority, but a vocal minority within the Republican Party. You know, I changed from being a Democrat to a Republican, and part of that was because I realized I am a conservative, and that's kind of why I went more on the Rand Paul side, because, you know, he's I would say, and he has said before, he's a fiscal conservative first, and that's what I saw as a young person in college, realizing that here I voted for this man, Obama, and he has Obamacare, and that's in the backs of me and my generation. And then I see that the economy really still sucks. Unlike what NPR says. NPR kept telling me this whole time, the 4 years I was in college, that the economy was great. It didn't. It wasn't.
Are you saying that NPR might have an agenda?
Oh, man.
Are you saying they might be politically biased?
Yeah, I'm on the community advisory board, so I have to be careful. So just cut that out. But no, I'm going to be honest. And, you know, that's what I heard all the time, is that, you know, Obama did so much for not only young people, but for black people. And I didn't see the stats for that. That wasn't proven. And so that's when I started to realize the fiscal side, especially, I was very passionate about. Why are we $20 trillion in debt? And that is okay. We just have these blinders on, and it's going to be in the backs of me and my kids. And people are not standing up for students and for millennials. And that's kind of why I got more into the Campus Carry movement as well, because that's another movement where students were kind of felt like they were second-class citizens for a long time.
Yeah, so we're going to dive deep into that in a little bit, because I know
I'm going to try to get into the guns as much as possible.
That's your real problem. You are packing right now. There's a gun in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, LA. I was thinking that's the best place. That was the best place not to get in trouble. Yeah.
Not packing. Okay, fair enough. So I'm curious, what makes you define yourself or use the label conservative as opposed to libertarian? Because a lot of the stuff, and we were talking about Rand Paul, it sounds like real libertarian stuff. Do you see a difference, or is it just splitting hairs? Or,
you know, I've taken the tests and everything. I'm still libertarian. That's ideology-wise, I am. I just feel like I'm in this weird, especially in this age of Trump or populism or whatever, where people are trying to figure out, well, and I saw it especially during the election, you know, with Austin Peterson and stuff like that, where these conservatives who were the Republican Party but they were more conservatarian, and they wanted a place, they wanted a home base, but they didn't really find it in either. And so I say conservative because literally, I mean, libertarianism, as long as you don't believe that it's force that makes that value, you can be a liberal or you can be conservative, but the difference is, does one have force or not?
Right.
And so I think that's why I consider myself a small L libertarian, but really I'm conservative when it comes to fiscal conservatism and quite a bit social conservatism, I feel as well.
So like what kind of social conservatism?
Probably the most is my pro-life stance that, you know, I've always been pro-life even when I was a Democrat. And I think that's what I was saying is that a lot of people in the minority communities, Hispanic, Black, they're conservative in those values and those traditional values, but they still just something about the Republican Party doesn't fit well, and they don't know about the Libertarian Party yet.
So when you hear, so for example, as someone that's pro-life, when you hear the media will say, well, you know, if we take away funding from Planned Parenthood, or we have any other rules or regulations around abortion, or whatever it is, that's going to hurt minority communities most. You don't even think that notion is coming from the communities themselves?
Oh no, they just. Let me tell you a story.
Bring it. That's what we're here for.
So 2012, I go to this Women for Obama luncheon. And, you know, I'm there, I'm excited. Yeah, 2012, another 4 years for Obama. And the head girl, well, there was a small business coalition behind me. It was mostly African-American women. And they literally asked the head person there that day, so I'm not hearing much about the African-American community. Are you guys going to be doing are there any plans for you guys to be reaching out to them? And the woman literally tells them that, well, we got 95% of the vote last time. We don't really need to focus on them.
Wow. There's sort of a refreshing candor there, even though.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she didn't know what she was saying. And all four of us look at each other, I remember, and we're just like, what? What? Like, I'm like, did she just say that? Did she know what she just said? And it was then I started to think, you know what? They think they have it in the bag. I mean, yeah.
So that was really your light bulb moment.
That was like, wow, I've been played this whole time. We've been played this whole time. You're right. 95% of us are voting the same way versus any other group that doesn't. And I mean, even the Hispanic community tends to, you know, they're varied every election. You don't know exactly. They're going to think they have it in the bag every time. And they take those people for granted. And that's when I started to realize, is he really doing stuff for the Black community? Has poverty levels gone down since then? Has welfare gone down since then? Are we more dependent on the government since he's been president? Yeah, we have. Stats have shown that. And I continue to do my research. And that's the thing is, a lot of people will not do the research. And don't know your history. They don't know, you know, I'll talk about it later, but, you know, with Black people and guns, that they've used that to protect themselves against gun control groups like the KKK, or their history has been that a lot of them have been conservative, or Planned Parenthood, that started as a way to basically have a genocide of all minorities in the first place. A lot of people are not going to do the research on that. And so that's why I feel this, I don't want to say a burden, but as a mission to use that, to use my knowledge of that history and bring it out there and say, this is actually your history and it's contradictory to what they're telling you right now.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to get people to think about this stuff because, you know, when one of the police shootings happened in Florida and everybody was talking about, well, now we have to get rid of stand your ground. And even though I think we differ a little bit on guns and we can get to that and that's great, that I remember thinking, wait a minute, you're taking away stand your ground, which means that a Black person who's being attacked might be able to have a gun and protect himself. And yet they always come in with more ideas to actually take the power away from the people.
And they'll always,
scary.
Yeah, and they'll always use that one case in Florida of that woman. She was basically, she kind of was a victim of domestic abuse with her husband. Her husband was abusive, and you remember she shot in the air as a warning shot, and she got mandatory minimums of 10 years or so. Actually, I think more than that. And I think they changed, they dropped it later on, but they always go back to that case. We'll see Black people. I mean, that's why guns are not for Black people, because all this racism is going to do the opposite. And instead of standing your ground, you're not going to be able to actually protect yourself without going to jail or having a gun without going to jail or being prosecuted some way. So they'll use that, but they won't use the many times that other people have used it for self-defense and have not had that case happen to them. I mean, it's not about race. It's really about poor laws, about mandatory minimums. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the criminal justice reform system. Let's stop making it about race every single time and then losing the actual policies and issues that are important, which can actually change everyone's outcome when it comes to that.